This is Johnny and Pedro from Allilon, and we want to welcome you to the Davos head office in Parma. We're in Italy, and tonight we're going to be showing you a variation of work. Okay, the past 2-3 weeks you've asked us to show you some long hair as well as some men's barbering, so that's what we're lucky enough to show you tonight. Now, to save time in regards to blow drying and ironing in front of you, what we've decided to do is do a lot of pre-work, pre-cutting and pre-blow drying. So with my scenario, if you look into the mirror, absolutely gorgeous model. Okay, we found her last night while we were having dinner, and she said she'd come in and get her hair cut by me. Now, if you look carefully, what do I like? I think she's got incredible cheekbones, nice jawline. Okay, so I want to focus on bringing some attention through this area here. So I'm going to be cutting some shorter hair around the front to sit around these kind of areas. The overall shape is going to be very long. So we're looking at coming to about the shoulder length in length. But then what we're going to do is we're going to make it a lot looser and a lot lighter by using a different layering technique. We're going to be using round layering. I'm going to show you the best way to approach this shape. It is a little bit dark where we are, so I'm going to try to make sure we've got as much light as possible when we're working. I'm going to start my haircut from the front. I'm going to work with a center parting. And we're going to basically, our first section is going to follow the contour of the hairline. So basically our first section is going to be diagonal. Now because our hairline is quite high, protrudes quite high, what we're going to do is we're going to go slightly more curved, just bringing in the initial hairline, knowing fully well that there isn't a lot of length and weight in that section. Okay? You're going to notice a lot of people coming in and out constantly in the background. It's because over here in Davos, they're all still working. They're all in the actual laboratories, working on the beautiful products that you can see behind us on the shelves. So I'm going to start my haircut through this area here. I'm going to comb the hair out. I'm going to give you 2 tips. Then I'm going to pass you over to Pedro and then bring you back to me so I can show you other tips that you can do when working on this area. Now, if the hair is very dense, if the hair is very, very thick, what you could start to do is start to layer and elevate straight away, okay? In this scenario, the hair is actually quite fine. So I want to keep some kind of definition in this area. So my first 2 or 3 sections, I'm going to basically be pulling forward. I'm going to be cutting a round cutting line like this, okay? And I'm going to basically maintain as much length and weight as I can. So section 2 will go to section 1. Section 3 will go to section 1. Which will then allow me section 3 to be the point where I will elevate off the base to then work round into my shape. The key area here is to understand the pivoting point. So in this scenario, there's going to be 2 pivot point areas where the sections will change direction. So the first one will be here. So I'll be pivoting from this point. I'll be doing 4 sections. By the time I do my 4th section, I should be completely vertical. At that stage, I'm going to walk you through the next process on this haircut. So, I'm going to do 4 sections pivoting, cutting a round cutting line. Obviously, I already have a bit of fixed analysis here. This is already quite short, so I can't go much shorter here. I'm going to treat this as a separate area. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to start my haircut at this point here and cut a round line. Okay? If you have any questions, please feel free to share this as much as you can tonight. The more people that get involved, the more interaction we have, the better it's going to be. We're live in Parma, Italy, and we're about to do a beautiful layered haircut and a man's barbered look, which Pedro's going to be talking you through now.
Hey guys, there's been a lot of requests for longer hair and for barbered looks. So me and Johnny being out here, we found 2 guys, a guy and a girl, just to really show you a barbered look. In the interest of time, I've prepared this side for you. Let's have a look. So this is Francesco, and if you're wondering what Francesco is doing down here, he's actually studying. Francesco's studying a primary shapes course. He's with us for 4 days here in Parma, and our objectives with the guys is to obviously get them to introduce them to the language. And part of their 4 days, they have to have exams. So this was his mock exam today. So tomorrow is going to be the real exam, I hope. Yes. All right. So let me fill you in with what I've done so far. Alright, so I took a section from the recession area to the crown, and then I worked through with vertical sections and just created, originally I cut a square cutting line, but then later on I've rounded it through. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm still going to work with a square cutting line to begin with, just because I want to build up that graduation first, and then I want to decide where I round it through afterwards. So after taking the section from recession to the crown, vertical sections all the way to the front, square cutting line, round over direction. So my horizontal shape is round all the way to the center crown to the middle occipital. Alright, so I established a length first with my fingers. Then afterwards, I came in with a clipper. I cheated a little bit. Just a small zone which ran all the way through the external shape. And I just took it down as short as the clipper would allow me to. And then from that point I started with my scissor over comb. So what I've done on this side still needs a little bit of refinement, but I'm going to just put the shape in on the other side, and that will help me see things a lot better. Okay, so first section on this side, same as the previous, recession area to crown. Now I'm going to establish my square cutting line, and I'm going to point fingers up. Yeah, and I'm going to comb onto my finger. I mean, a lot of people, you know, when they've asked us to do, you know, a men's look, you know, I think, you know, we are very passionate about men's hair, but I wouldn't say, you know, there's so many talented barbers out there, you know, and they've just obviously got their own philosophy and their own approach. You know, I would say if we try and term it in a language, I'd probably say that Allilon probably are more men's hairdressers than they are men's barbers. You know, so we really keep the philosophy of the primary shapes, you know, into working it into our men's work. You know, so really that idea of, you know, controlling shape, horizontal and vertical shape.
So we have one question.
Yes.
It's from Carol Zoflowski.
Yes, Carol. Yes, Carol's coming on a course, I believe.
Yeah.
With
So
us.
hi Pedro.
Ciao, Carol.
Where is your guide coming from?
Okay, so obviously the first section that you cut, you know, it has to come from experience, you know, your choice of length. All right, so how is the best way to determine choice of length? Looking at individual's hair type, looking at the bend in the hair. Francesco's hair is very straight, you know, so I'm expecting it to react. So there isn't much bend in the hair for me to be able to choose a length which is going to kind of turn on itself. You know, it's going to stick out, which I'm expecting, which I don't mind. You know, so choice of length on the first section is based on what silhouette that I want to create, how tight that I want to be on my external shape, how long I want to be at the top of my internal shape. You know, so it's just kind of thinking about hair type, growth patterns, end result. You know, all of these things are going to influence my decision on choice of length. But very good question, Carol. Alright, so I'm just going to continue working all the way to the crown vertically. Make sure I stay nice and clean up top. I'm not too worried about coming into the area externally because I know that I'm going to end up with a skin fade on the other side. So I just want to have a shape in the top to build into. I think that's really important, you know, when you're working shorter shapes on men's hair. You know, establish that length on top. You know, give yourself something to work up to. Sometimes it's very difficult if you start at a short point and you've still got lots of length on top, you know, to really have control of your fade.
Is there a specific comb that you're using, or a specific reason you're using that particular comb?
Good question. I'm going to talk a little bit more about combs when I get onto the skin fade, but generally when I'm cutting a wet shape, I'll go with the Buey 101 or the Cesebon 20. I love, you know, those two combs. I just feel like the teeth, you know, that gives me a greater control of in my wet shape. When it comes to, you know, skin fades, I'm going to use a various, you know, 2 or 3 different types of combs just to help me control the length in the skin fade. you know, but the Buoy 101 is my favourite. And the Cesabon, I love the Cesabon. What about you, John?
Well, that's a very good question, Pedro. Thank you for asking. If you'd like to bring the camera here, Mr. Andrea. So I've worked my first 3 sections. As you can see now, my section is completely vertical to the top of the ear. Okay? So I've cut 4 sections in the front. Now, because the length in the front, if you look carefully, if you come around here, hopefully you can see well. If you can't see well, we've got fantastic Andrea on the camera. Please just communicate and he'll do his best to move into a different position. If you look carefully, there is a shorter piece of hair underneath, which was in the previous haircut. So what I've done is I've ignored that shape there, and I've basically cut a shape on top of it. So I've ignored it, I'm cutting a new shape. And if you look carefully, what I'm doing, because I want to keep an element of length, if you look carefully, I'm combing from the underneath, and I'm using the wide side of the comb to control the hair. And if you look carefully, okay, I'm cutting a clean line. Now my corner here, can you see this area here? I'm going to work it slightly rounded, okay, just to take the corner off that tip there. And I'll do the same on this side. And then I'm going to move into section 5, sorry, which is which will be the internal shape, which will be slightly rounder. So let me show you what I mean.
James, say hello to you and Pedro.
Hello, James. Which James?
Mold.
James Mould. Hey, James. You right, mate? Right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So my next section is going to be on top of the ear, okay? And I'm using a blue Allilon Buoy. I'm grooming the excess hair. It's really important that you work clean. Just because you're working dry doesn't mean you should work messy. To still be as clean as if you're working on wet hair. It's slightly harder, but it's definitely doable. So, to keep it extra clean for you guys to see, I'm going to use tiny little clips.
So,
just to secure the
Jessica Hong, say hello from Kentucky.
Hello.
And
Hello,
Alana Arguello is asking you, why are you cutting dry hair from dry hair?
So, good question. Let me tell you what I'm going to do and I'll explain what it is I've done so far. Andrea, if you just come over here, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So the reason why I'm cutting dry hair is because I didn't want to take a lot of time blow drying all this hair through for you. The hair's quite dense in the back, and I didn't want to take a lot of time going through the blow dry. We will probably be doing a blow dry unplugged, purely based on teaching people how to dry hair in a specific way. But tonight I wanted to show you a cool haircut. So let me show you some tips on how to manage your body posture. So in this haircut,
Natasha, say hello from Serbia.
Perfect. Hello, Natasha. So in this scenario, let me show you what I've done. If you look at my body, Andrea, what if you come over there, okay, and you focus on my body, okay? So when I was cutting the center, I was standing directly opposite like this, okay? So my body is parallel to the chair. When I was cutting the side area, what I did is I shimmied my feet together and then moved across diagonally and pivoted, okay? So I went slightly rounded on this side. Then when you go back to your start position, starting there, feet together, pivot, same position, okay? Now the key now is what I do internally. So section 1, 2 and 3, we're all pulled forward, cut, slightly square in, just took the corner off the edge, it was slightly rounder, okay? This is now section 4. So section 4, I need to be able to see the root of section 4 to guarantee that I'm pulling it out from the base. Now, I stood here and cut section 1, 2 and 3, and the reason for that is because I needed to build a lot of density and maintain a lot of weight in the front because the hair is quite fine to the front area. Now that I've got a length, I can now move into my internal shape. So what I want to do is spin the chair around. Now, you never really want your arms too much higher than your shoulders, okay? You don't want that, that's uncomfortable and that's not good for your shoulders or your spine. So I don't want to really go any higher than that. So the key really is now to lower the chair. which instantly gives me height. Okay? Now, I mean, I'm a bit short to be honest, so that's kind of okay, so now, I only need 2 sections in my hand. So I only need section 3 and section 4. I don't need section 1 and section 2. And what I am going to do once I've finished my internal shape, is I'm going to be cutting a fringe type area through the front. So if you come and film over my shoulder, Andrea, or film the mirror, whatever you want here, focus here. There's my guide from section 3. Okay, I'm going to use that.
So a lot of people, they join the video, they say hello from Vietnam, Germany, Costa Rica, New Jersey.
Fantastic, fantastic. Welcome guys, welcome. Please, if you have any
Vietnam.
questions, please feel free to ask the questions, and please feel free to share the video, and hopefully we can connect with as many people as we can tonight. So today we're showing you a long layer, a long round layer, and we're also showing you a barbered look. So now I'm starting to create a round shape. Comb the hair up. I'm using the wide end of my comb, and the reason I'm using a wide end of my comb is because the hair is dry. If I use the tight end of my comb, the hair will create a lot more friction, which will basically make the hair very static. So I want to try and avoid the hair becoming static. So bearing in mind, I only want section 3 and section 4 in my hand. So we go up and we go round. Bearing in mind, there isn't that much of a guide because of the fact that the hair in the front doesn't reach because it's already too short. So I'm kind of creating this round shape as I work. And this will now be my guide for the rest of the shape. Now if you look carefully, because I'm elevating the hair quite high, it's actually, you need to think of it a bit like a half a moon, okay? Because that bit there will be my length. So think of it as half a moon. Now, I could do a series of things. I could continue taking the same sectioning pattern, so I'm mirroring my sectioning pattern vertically. This is section 4. I could do 5 and 6 vertically, and then at 7 I'm going to start to pivot. So there's 2 pivoting areas, one here and one here. Okay, now this is section number 6. No, it's not, it's section number 5, I apologize. I'm going to take a vertical section. I'm going to groom all the excess hair, and then I'm going to use section 4 as my guide. And now basically I'm pulling the hair straight out from the base. Okay, so I'm going to cut one side at a time. I'm going to cut this side, and then I'm going to cut this side. Then I'm going to cut this side, then I'm going to cut this side. And my body's simply just moving from side to side like this, okay? And what I'm going to do, once I hit section 7, sorry, I'm going to start to pivot. So again, I only need 2 sections in my hand. I need section 5 and section 4.
Okay, can I bring you up to speed?
Yes, please.
Okay, so, like I said before, on this side, when I established that shorter length, basically what I did is I chose a length, and I came with the clippers in this angle. I just created a line all the way through. And whenever you're thinking about doing this, try and think about keeping yourself, you know, it's always going to go higher than it really is, you know, once you start blending it. Alright, so if you want the fade to start at a particular point, always aim a few centimetres below, just to give yourself the ability to blend into that length. Focus on the head shape, focus on at what point, you know, that you want that length to start building. Really feel the head, you know, do a fixed analysis, and for any lumps and bumps and scars. So as you can see on this side, you can see how strong the line is. Just really just popped it in, yeah, all the way through. And now I'm going to work through in columns and just start to blend my technique with scissor over comb and a little bit of scissor no comb. Alright, so working from the bottom, choosing, I'm still staying with the same comb. I will get down to more of a barbered comb shortly, you know, just to really kind of get that little bit more blend. But that blend also, I can use a little bit of scissor no comb, which is just almost like you're just floating over the hair. And it's really important when you're working with this just to think about which way the blades are pointing, you know, to build your graduation, to build your shape into it. Okay, so when I'm happy with one column, then I move on to the next. like I said on my other side, what I did is once I put my square cutting line in, I then went through and rounded this top. So I'm not too worried about this hair up here. I'm more focused on what's happening in there. And I did that because I just want to make sure that I don't have my shape's not too round from the profile. You know, I really want to make that silhouette kind of build up. But all I want to do afterwards is just squash the shape down, because sometimes, you know, when you work with a square cutting line, you know, it can really elongate the shape, and sometimes you just need to try and change the dynamics of it. That could be, you know, making the outline shorter, the external shape shorter to try and squash it, but it also could be the choice of length on top, which also helps to squash it down.
A lot of people say hello to you, Pedro, Patricia, Timmerman, my Nguyen, and Nguyen Phuc.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm saying wrong.
No, it's my Vietnam.
You're giving it the Italian.
My Vietnam.
Yeah,
crew.
just tiny bit, yeah?
So it's very evident we're in Parma. You know, even though Andrea is one of our staff at ENA, you know, who's behind the camera. You know, you should have heard him a year ago when he started work at ENA. He couldn't speak a word of English.
Now we can say at least 17 words.
17, 12 maybe.
He had his interview with
Johnny and
Johnny
Madeline.
and Madeline over nearly a year.
Yeah.
Nearly a year.
Years ago, yeah. In June will be 1 year.
Apparently he could understand Johnny, but he couldn't understand a word that Madeline was saying.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
Okay, so I'm going to just continue in columns working through. I hope Josh gets on, Josh LaMonica, the barber from Menspire, because I've always had this question. I was always taught a certain way when I barber hair, and maybe he can just help elaborate on it, but I was always taught that these temple areas, you know, are really important to kind of fit into the shape of the head. I was always under the impression that this hair here, the choice of length here, should be mirrored all the way through the front hairline, and therefore it just makes the silhouette just kind of sit into the face shape. But when I look at a lot of barbers out there, I notice they just leave this little bit of weight in the temple, and in my head I'm thinking, cut it off, cut it off, cut it off, you know. But you know, obviously there is some kind of philosophy or some kind of taste level, but in my mind, you know, that should be, this area here should be really fitted in. It's almost like what that does vertically, that should do horizontally. You know, it should come from length then into nothing around here. And the reason behind that is because I just feel that it really makes the eye pop out. You know, it really kind of lifts the eye socket and the eye and the eyebrow. You know, sometimes when too much weight is left in there, I feel it can just kind of drag the shape down. So if Josh gets on at any point, I would love him to answer that question, why barbers leave weight in the temple. Have you noticed that as well, John?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more in regards to taking that little